Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and Hurricane HD video blog for Friday, May 31st, 2013. One more day till hurricane season begins in the Atlantic Basin. It's all just academics, right? The calendar, that's man-made. Hurricanes come and go as they please, mostly during the June through November time frame. That's why it's a hurricane season. But sometimes you do get development outside of those months. It just depends on how the atmosphere and the ocean are behaving. Right now we are watching an area down in the Bay of Campeche, that is this region right here, for possible development. This part of the energy left over from Hurricane Barbara that came into the Gulf of Tehuantepec and then crossed over this small land area. We call that an isthmus. That's the geographic term. And now some of that energy is hanging around in the Bay of Campeche, where it might try to develop its own new circulation in the days to come. Somewhere in this region is what I'm thinking. I'll show you the GFS output, one of the computer models, in just a moment. This other area of convection, fancy word for shower and thunderstorm activity, over the northern Caribbean Sea, nothing to be concerned with, although it is dumping some pretty heavy tropical rainfall over the Caymans, which if you're there, that's not very pleasant, but it's not a tropical cyclone. It's not expected to develop into anything, so that's good news. Looking at water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, pretty much anything in the cyan color on to the right side of the scale here is warm enough for hurricane activity. Only the northeast Gulf is the water cooler than the 80 degrees or so Fahrenheit that you're looking for tropical storm formation. And that's very important because whatever does develop, it looks like it would try to track off to the north and east here, possibly towards the northeast Gulf of Mexico where water temperatures are cooler. So if anything gets going, it's going to be weak and disorganized, I do believe, based on past experience and the computer models. Now this is the Global Forecast System, or GFS, one of the more reliable computer models. You'll hear about it, and the ECMWF, which is the European version of the GFS. It's the European global model, the ECMWF, and we'll show that from time to time. But the GFS does really well at what we call tropical cyclogenesis, or sniffing out the development of tropical storms and hurricanes. So here we are, we're looking at 72 hours out. So this is valid Monday morning, June the 3rd, around 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And let me give you your bearings here. This is the Carolina coast. Here is Florida, the Gulf of Mexico coastline, the Yucatan Peninsula, Central America, etc. Just kind of rough drawing that in for you. In the Gulf, we see about 1,007 millibar low pressure center, and these different wind barbs here indicate the direction of wind flow and the wind speed. The more flags on these wind barbs, the higher the wind speeds. And you really don't see much in the way of heavy, strong winds or heavy precip. These colors here are your previous 6-hour precipitation, and that to me equates to convective activity, showers and thunderstorms, and it's not very well organized is what it comes down to. And we move ahead to about 90 hours out. The GFS still showing a closed low, and you see the isobar surrounding that down here. But look at these wind barbs, still only about 10 knots or so. There's maybe 20 knots in there, 5 knots, 20, 15, whatever. Very, very weak is the bottom line. So nothing to get all worried about in terms of a hurricane developing or even a tropical storm of any magnitude at this point. Now things can change, but this is today's run, and it is not very enthusiastic, as it were, about development. Moving right through time here, this is 5 days from now, so this will be valid this coming Wednesday morning. And again, you see blobs of this precip scattered around the system, with the low pressure center itself situated back here, and that shows me that it's not very well organized in the computer model. It is not picking up on a very well developed system, and that's good news. I think what we'll see is a broad area of low pressure developed down in the Gulf of Mexico, and as we see here by day 6, it's a very large, extensive area of counterclockwise flow, and the north and east quadrant of it will probably be loaded with showers and thunderstorms that will kind of break off, shed their way off of the main low, and head towards the Florida Peninsula. So I think at the very least next week, as we move through the week, folks in Florida and western Cuba will probably see, and that's the southern half of Florida, I do believe, an increase in tropical moisture and a few, added wind speeds to that, but nothing substantial that anybody needs to be worrying about. Is it going to ruin your afternoon plans? Well, maybe if you have outdoor activities, but other than that, even a week out from now, 7 days, this is valid next Friday, the 7th of June, there's the low center out in the central Gulf, all of the deep precipitation off to the east. Now this can put down a lot of rainfall, and that is a hazard from tropical systems, whether or not they're named. But this shows me the spread out nature to all this energy, and it kind of looks like a cold front here. Everything's kind of loosely attached, no real organization, and hopefully that will be the trend, and we won't start the season off with anything of any significance. We could do without that, I'm sure. So that's a look at the tropics for today. A few things to look at, as I just went over, but nothing that's going to ruin this weekend's plans, that's for sure. And hopefully nothing to ruin next weekend's plans, but we will keep an eye on it. Again, I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Thank you very much for watching this video blog. Always my privilege and a pleasure to produce these for Hurricane Pro and Hurricane HD for iPad. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.